Okay, um, so now we take a look at let's take a look at the homework. We pushed it to Friday, and I've now included examples of these things in the homework. If you look at the project requirements and objective tree homework, you open it up, it's going to give you an example of making a requirements list. When you click on that, it shows you this image of a project list template, right? And so you'll go and you'll interview your client and talk to them about the project and ask questions about it, ask follow-up questions, have discussions about it, and figure out everything that they want this project to accomplish, all the things they wanted to accomplish. And you put those project requirements here. And if any of those discussions prompt new product requirements, you put those here, requirement description, right? You can give them an ID number or a tag or a name or number or whatever you want over here. That's fine. But the stakeholder requested the requirement would be the client if they did it. If you came up with the requirement as a result of the discussion, and that would be you that came up with that or anybody else. The category, eventually you're going to come along through here and you're going to group these things into categories. Maybe you have three requirements that have to do with the safety of the user. So you're going to put those under user safety. Maybe you have two requirements that are about powering the thing. So those you might put under power. You're going to create some categories and organize these things into probably no more than 10 categories. You want to get things down to a decent number, even 3 or 4 would be good, or 5. The fewer categories, the better. And you can also have subcategories. You can have power slash, power dash external, power dash internal, or something like that. If you need to split things up to make it a little simpler, more organized. But in that case, you would have one category of power and then 2 subcategories in your objective tree. And we'll show that in just a second. But then you have priorities. So some requirements are really absolutely required, and that's a priority 1 priority. Some priorities are maybe not so stringent. They don't have to be there, but it'd be nice if they were there. Or it doesn't have to live up to everything they want, but it kind of needs to be there still. And so you have lower priorities for that. And you can also put it in terms of must have, should have, could have, won't have, right? So this must have would be an absolute requirement. Could have would be we'd like it, but we don't necessarily have to have it. Won't have can be a requirement that they want it to not do, right? For example, they might say, we don't want this thing to move at all when we're using it. So that needs to have a will not move requirement. And that would be a won't have. Or they don't want it to be powered by plug-in electricity into the wall. And so under power requirements, it says will not be powered by the wall. Any other kind of power is fine, just will not be plugged into the wall. So that's the priority section. And then the acceptance criteria here is the specifics or the specifications that will determine whether or not you've actually met that requirement according to the client. So they might say, we want it to not move. And what that means is that it won't slide, it won't vibrate, it won't twist. And maybe it says it won't slide by more than 1 millimeter. Maybe there's actual measurements. It won't twist by more than this amount. If you apply up to this amount of force, you put 20 pounds of force on it, it won't slide. Anything more than that, and it's okay if it slides or something like that.
Example of the acceptance criteria for like a paint crusher, size of the
Yeah, so if it's saying it must crush the can, and then the acceptance criteria says it must crush the can along the cylindrical length down to 1 inch or something like this, right? And that would be the specifications or the acceptance criteria of that particular requirement. So this is a great template, and it's probably one I'll use in the future. I was not able to download this template. The website was being stupid, but you could easily make this in Word or whatever. This would be an easy thing to build on your own.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's a very good template. Now, once you're done with this list, you should end up with, I would say it's normal for a project of the size that we're dealing with to have requirements of on the number of at least 10, maybe up to 20 requirements for a project like these sizes. And that means you're going to have to dig a little bit to make sure that you know everything that they want out of the project. And then you organize them and move forward. When you move on to doing the objective tree, this is what the objective tree should look somewhat like. You have the title of the thing you're trying to design at the top, and then you have these main categories. In this case, this has something to do with medical care for infants, and it has 4 main categories: cost effectiveness, integrity, convenience, ease of use. Those are very fundamental, basic, general categories. There's not much detail there. The detail comes in the subcategories. Under cost effectiveness, they split up affordability and low maintenance costs, because affordability has to do with what they make it out of and how they make it. And low maintenance cost has to do more with how they design it so that you can fix things, replace things, keep things going, right? So those are 2 different parts, 2 different things that contribute to cost effectiveness. Under affordability, they actually have 2 things that affect that they put into their requirements: low cost materials and a low selling price. So that's how that goes. You go down that list and you can see how they're going to try to achieve affordability with these 2 requirements, how affordability and low maintenance costs are going to work together to make cost effectiveness, and how that is a main category for this project.
The objective tree would be a graph that simplifies the requirements.
Yes, the objective tree is a graphic. It's an organizational chart that shows the requirements and how they're organized into different categories.
And each one of those categories in the objective tree have their own sub-objective trees too, I would assume.
Well, you can go too far with this, right? You can spend so much time making charts that you never get the project done. The more complex the project, generally, the more time they spend on this kind of thing, because this is an organizational tool. For simpler projects, they spend less time on this stuff because it's not as complex. You don't have to do as much organizing. This is as far as you need to go for this project. You don't need to build any more. Did you have a question, Hunter?
No, I'm good.
So anyway, there are of course they have other categories: integrity, which I actually maybe would call this quality or quality control or something like this. Integrity is a good word, but I don't think that I think that most people would use more like quality, and that is, efficiency of the product and the safety of the product would be under that. I guess integrity works better for this because it's about how the product works and how safe the product is, and that's both enveloped in integrity. But you could also call it quality. Convenience, convenience is something that's very important for this, because it needs to be something that you can use when you're out doing things around town and you've got your baby with you. But it also needs to be used at home. It needs to be powered in all those situations and all that. So, does anybody have any questions about the objective tree or the requirements list example?
It goes in your logbook, right?
Yes, eventually this will all go in the logbook.
Okay.
You'll turn this in the homework for a grade, and then you'll either put a link in your logbook to these, or you'll put them directly into your logbook.
So when you say in the homework, it's in open math or whatever?
Yeah, in my open math, if you go under the section on the engineering design process, it's one of the homework assignments there: project requirements and objective tree.
Okay.
Okay, is everybody kind of understanding how this goes together? Okay, so let me talk for a second here. Let me talk for a second before you guys go on. That's all right. So if there are no more questions about the project requirements and objective tree, again, I'm going to turn time over to you guys during class to work on those. And if you haven't met with your client, then one of the first things you need to do is to contact your client and set up a meeting time, right? If you want help with that, I can help you with that. We can head over there really quick towards the end of class. And that's fine. Hunter, if you wanted to meet with me during class to discuss project requirements, then we could do that today, and that would be fine.
Okay.
For the rest of it, it's mostly about, getting that list filled out. I would recommend that when you're meeting with your client, you either have a copy of a template like the one that I showed you, ready to go on your computer or print it out so you can write on it, or you take really good notes and transfer it right after you talk to them. You don't want to wait a long time between discussing and putting it into a good list, because you'll forget things, even if you take notes. It's also totally fine to record a meeting with somebody, just as long as you are, just make them aware that you're recording it. It's actually not required in the state of Nebraska that you tell people you're recording the conversation you're having with them.
What?
It's true in most of the United States, it's not required. The requirement says in most states that only one person has to know that you're recording, and if you know you're recording, then that counts. So, and that's just the law. Well, it makes perfect sense to me. I don't think you should ever have to tell somebody you're recording. I don't think I think that violates free speech in itself.
Are
In
you
and of itself.
talking about voice recording or video?
Both. It applies to both. But anyway, that's just my opinion. I think that anyone should be able to record, write down, or make a record of anything that they're involved in, as long as they're involved in it. But if you're recording somebody else's conversation, that's illegal unless you get their permission. So if two other people are having a conversation and you're recording and you didn't tell either of them, that's
The
illegal.
environment, like the right, for example, if you record somebody else's house as home yours.
But that's what I
If
was
you're-
gonna say, he's not involved in that.
No.
He's not involved in the person that ever.
If you're a part of the conversation, you can record it legally. If you're actually part of the conversation or part of the situation, then you can record it legally. If you're not a part of it and you're recording as a third party, then it's illegal unless you get permission. And that makes sense to me. But
That
anyway,
makes sense.
yeah. Anyway, the point being is that it's just good. It's good common decency to tell people you're recording, and most people don't care if you're talking about something like this. That way, you can go back and you can revisit the conversation and make sure you got all the details, and that can be useful. But I still think the best way is to make the list while you're having the conversation, or take notes and make the list immediately afterwards. So that's just my experience, and that works best. Most people that record things don't go back and look at them. Look at all the home videos nobody's ever watched in this world. Anyway, so if there are no more questions with that, I'm gonna let you guys do your thing. And for those of you that are gonna watch this recording later, because there are a couple of students that are supposedly gonna watch this video later, I still have not heard from you on your projects, the project that you want to do. So that's a first step, and we need to get started on that before we're out of time. And I will send you out emails as well to remind you of this. So, Hunter, do you want to have a discussion right now, or do you want to get a list ready, or what do you want to do?
I'm gonna create my list.
Okay.
The specification list too.
Yeah, so that's what this is.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
Specification list, project requirements, and project. I mean, they're all different names for the same list, essentially.
Yeah. I'm just gonna get some specifications on Zillow because you gave me
Okay.
the address of all that stuff, so I'll work on that.
Okay. Now, as you're doing that, you will come up with questions in your mind. You should come up with questions, because Zillow won't give you everything you need, and you might think of something that you need. And that's the kind of thing that you should be opening your mind up to, so that you can come back and ask me and get that list completed. Okay?
Okay.
All right. You guys here, do you want to try and go visit Abia, or do you want me to try to contact him?
You could try to contact him, that would be nice. It's over at the, his office is over
At this farm center over here. And we could go over there in 5 minutes walking if you wanted to.
I can go now. I don't know. Would you be okay with us just dropping him off?
Yeah, he'd totally be fine with that. And I can't guarantee you he'll be there, but he usually is when I drop in there about this time of day. He's usually out over there. They're getting ready for harvest right now, so he's probably working on something over there, unless he's traveling. I don't really know. But if we can usually find somebody over there who knows where he is, and then that will clear up things and we can make an appointment to do that. All right, so Hunter, I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect from Zoom. So if you have any questions for me, send me an email and we'll get back to you, okay?
All right, got it.
See you.
Bye.